Welcome, everybody. I'm Joe from the Game House. Today, we'll be doing a 2025 NFL mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. Packers are on the clock in our 2025 NFL mock draft series here at the Game House. As a reminder, we'll be doing every NFL team before free agency and then again after free agency. Once we have more clarity about what their needs are going to be and how the draft board will fall, we'll be using the NFL mock draft database simulator because I like the way it meshes big boards from across the internet together to make their own big board. And we'll be declining all trades to keep it as realistic as possible. We're going to get it started off here. Packers have picked number 23, made the playoffs, maybe a little bit underperforming in the playoffs. Some people thought they could be Super Bowl contenders, and a lot of needs they have to fill as well. The team, I think, is changing in more ways than maybe they would have liked at this point. But with this pick, I think I'm going to go Walter Nolan, the defensive lineman from Ole Miss. He's a guy who has a lot of athletic potential, and I think if you can get him to buy in, you can be a very, very good player. Can really help this defense out. There's not any like glaring obvious needs on offense as much as I mean maybe a little bit offensive line, but maybe number one receiver. But I think fixing this defense might be the first step to helping this team out. I don't love the players they're trying to get me to draft here. I mean, Josh Jacobs is there. Offensive line could be the pick. It might have to be the pick by default here, just based on what they're giving us. Corner could be an issue. Corner could be an issue. Jair Alexander, we don't know what his future is, but there's not really within range. So for that reason, I guess I guess we'll go Ariante Ursary. The offensive line wasn't as good as it used to be. He's a guy who's a big right tackle prospect. Probably gonna play right tackle in the pros. And maybe the Packers have so many players you can move around the offensive line that taking him, I think, gives you a little bit more flexibility as well. You can move guys inside if you need to put him at right tackle. All right, pick number 87. Don't think the two tight ends are going to be on the high on their board after all they've done in the draft the last several years. Let's go. Let's go. Josiah Stewart, the edge rusher out of Michigan. He showed some really good bursts this year at Michigan. Former transfer from Coastal Carolina, kind of waited his time at Michigan after transferring in. Really had some good games this year. Pretty good athlete. I think that would be a good pick in the middle rounds. So maybe get a rotational pass rusher to start, and maybe a guy who can develop into more down the line. Next pick, let's go Kobe Bryant, the corner out of Kansas. Could have gone Zy Alexander as well. Kobe Bryant's a little bit undersized, but man, does he battle, does he fight? He plays very, very tough football. And I think getting another corner is going to be a necessity for the Green Bay Packers this offseason. Pick 160 here. It's been wanting me to take, a running back for a while now. Interior offensive line could be a pick here. Next pick is 200, so not too far away. Let's go Ollie Gordon, running back out of Oklahoma State. I wasn't as high on him after this year. I don't think anyone was. He was seems like maybe a little bit more of a plotter than you would like, but a power back. You want a rotation of backs there in Green Bay, and a guy who maybe starts off low on the depth chart, but maybe can develop and be a goal line back, much like they had with AJ Dillon over the last several years. All right, pick number 200. We'll get some wide receiver depth here. I know they have a lot of good receivers, but I'm really looking for someone to develop and be that number one, and you might end up losing someone in the future. So, Pat Bryant, the wide receiver out of Illinois, a bigger bodied wide receiver that can attack downfield. So, you do have similar body types and wide receiver skills. But just getting depth will be important, I think, at this point in the draft, getting guys who might be able to play special teams as well. Next one up, let's go. Jake Majors, the interior offensive lineman from Texas. He plays center for Texas. So I think getting more depth on the offensive line as well is good. They've had some pretty good picks on the offensive line over the years, even in some of the middle and later rounds of the draft. So that could be a good guy where they find some good production out of. This pick, let's go with another edge player. Let's go for Deal Diggs. He started his career at Texas A&M, then transferred to Syracuse. I think he definitely stepped up his production this last year at Syracuse, albeit against lesser competition. But I think a guy this late in the draft, I think you're happy to take. All right, so looking back on the Packers mock draft, we got Walter Nolan, the defensive lineman out of Ole Miss in the first round. Very talented, very athletic player for his position. Ariante Ursary, offensive tackle out of Minnesota. The board didn't really fall the right way to get a lot of the bigger needs, so maybe improve that offensive line, which wasn't as good as it had been in past years. Edge Josiah Stewart out of Michigan showed a lot of good burst this year out of Michigan, and a guy who I think that athleticism could help rush on the edge. Cornerback Kobe Bryant out of Kansas, a smaller guy who fights very tough. Ollie Gordon, the running back out of Oklahoma State, who's a big power back. Pat Bryant, the wide receiver out of Illinois. A bigger bodied guy who can attack downfield, though, a little bit. Jake Majors, one of the better centers, true centers in the draft class, but there's just not many who are going to be taken that highly. And then Fadil Diggs, the edge rusher out of Syracuse. I like this mock draft. Let me know what you think in the mock draft down in the comments below. We'll be doing more for every NFL team before we get to the 2025 NFL draft. For now, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.